and welcome to Creative Connections. Today is going to be just a little bit different. What I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about the songwriting process, or at least my songwriting process, and give you an example of how a song is formed and where it might go once it goes into the studio. So I'm going to start with a song I wrote called Lunar Tune. When you've been writing for a long time, as I have, I started writing 50 years ago, you tend to get into a little bit of a rut. So one thing that I was told sometimes, if you're feeling stuck in your writing, try something different. Take a chord and move it around on the guitar neck. So I took the A minor chord and just started bringing it up the neck, and I got to this point and I thought, that sounds pretty nice. That sounds pretty nice as well. So I started to fool around with the chord. And then I started coming up with words. And I wrote this song. It goes like this. Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems. Life goes by so quickly, time just slips away. But tomorrow brings a brighter day. And that's basically the way it sounded. So then you take it into the studio and start recording, and my process is to start by adding perhaps bass guitar, and then I'll sit down at the keyboard and come up with something. And then from there, I send it off to a producer I work with who lives outside of Detroit, Michigan. And he then works with it. And the way it turned out was really, I felt, pretty amazing. So we're going to watch a video version of the entire song. And again, it's called Lunar Tune. Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems. Moving through the cloudless sky, heading out toward the moon. I am dancing to the lunar tune. Life goes by so quickly, time just slips away. But tomorrow brings a brighter day. Soaring out among the planets, in the vast array of space, I can feel the moon's embrace. Life goes by so quickly, time just slips away. But tomorrow brings a brighter day. so quickly. Time just slips away. But tomorrow brings a brighter day. Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems. Okay, so sometimes when I'm writing, I have something very particular in mind that I want to do. One of my influences as a young musician and songwriter back in the 1960s was the musician Donovan. In particular, he had an album called Sunshine Superman that combined folk music, rock music, world music, and was really just an amazing album for its time. And I decided I was moving into a place with my writing where I wanted to expand things a bit. So there was a song of his called Ferris Wheel that I particularly liked. And it goes something like this. Riding on a sea, shore twilight, it's then you spy carnival lights. And it goes on like that, and it had some sitar and other sort of Indian instrumentation. And it's a song that I really like. So I decided I would sort of pay tribute to him, which is a nice way of saying I'd steal some of what he did. And I also had started experimenting with new tunings. This is what they call an open D tuning, so when I hit the strings without holding them, it's playing a D chord. So I thought, you know, I didn't want to write another Ferris wheel, so I would call mine Carousel, and also wanted to make it just a little bit faster. Just a word, by the way, about this particular guitar. I found a young lady named Hannah Brookman from the Greenfield, Deerfield area, who was painted this for me. And I really like how she kind of captured that 1960s feel. I told her I wanted the word dream and a peace sign on it, and she just took it from there and did a beautiful job. So I wrote a song that I called Carnival, and it goes like this. Life is a carnival, we're just along for the ride. Where we're headed, there is no way to tell. We go along, taking all things in stride. We go in circles, riding on a carousel. Interestingly, when I wrote that, I thought, you know, that's rather fast for a carousel. But recently, my wife and I went to the carousel in Holyoke at the Heritage Park. And it is a very fast carousel. And when we inquired about it, we were told that in the late 1800, well, I guess it would be early 1900s when carousels first came along, they were set to be at the speed of a horse at a trot. So a lot of the carousels, the more modern carousels, have actually been slowed down. So because this was a tribute to Donovan and his music, particularly in the Sunshine Superman period, I felt like it really needed to have that sort of Indian feel to it. So I took it into the studio, and I started out with a drum track that had the Indian tabla drums, and then started playing the guitar along to that. Then I went back in and I added some sitar sounds using the keyboard. As much as I would love to be able to say that I can play sitar, that's one of those things I have not yet accomplished. And so we added that, and then I sent it to my producer, and he not only sort of worked with, what he does is he takes a lot of the raw tracks, and then he adds effects to them, but he added an introduction and an ending to it that was absolutely beautiful in that Indian style. And then I sat down and created a video to go with it. And that's the video we're going to watch now. And if you remember how it sounded playing it on the guitar, it's quite different. So let's watch now Carnival.
Life is a carnival, we're just along for the ride. Where we're headed, there is no way to tell. We go along, taking all things in stride. We go in circles, riding on the carousel. Trying to grab the ring. We hesitate, thinking of the times we fell. But every time around is a different thing. We go in circles, riding on the carousel. As they go around, we go along to a future that we can't foretell. We look for answers, knowing that they can't be found. We go in circles, riding on the carousel. A carnival, we're just along for the ride. Where we're headed, there is no way to tell. We go along, taking all things in stride. tried. We go in circles, riding on the carousel. 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 We go in circles, riding on the carousel.
What I particularly like about that video and the song itself is that it really gives that feeling of motion, and it's that feeling of what life is like as we get carried along. Another thing I particularly like about this, I was introduced to the blog by a musician named Paul Belbuty. And he is in a group called Mercy Choir. And he had written a blog about the lives of a song. And he was saying that a song has one life when you write it. Then it takes on a different life when you take it into the studio and you begin to add all the instruments. And then it might have yet another life as you begin to perform it, and it takes shape again. So I used to really try to record so that I could play it exactly as it was on the recording. But this was the first time I really sort of stretched out and said there's no way I could play it live like it is on the album. But the song works either way, and it's just that second life of that song. So that's another example. The other example I'm going to have for you is a song I wrote. It was my wife was away visiting her son and grandson, and I was sitting around the house playing guitar, and I started coming up with a chord pattern. And then I started to write words, and it's another one of those cases where the words just seemed to flow out, and I wasn't quite sure where they came from. But the song started coming out like this. Star child, shining down on me. Star child, your light can set you free. I turn my heart toward your light. I feel it in my soul. I put my life into your hands and offer full control. Your love can make me whole, star child. So, since I was being a bachelor for the weekend, I was able to just go immediately down to the studio and started recording it, and I put in the drum track and I recorded the guitar track. And I sat down with the keyboard, and the next thing I knew, it really sounded like a 1980s synth pop song. And by the time the final mix was done, you barely hear the guitar at all. But let me show you now the video for that song called Star Child.
light can set me free. I turn my heart toward your light. I feel it in my soul. I put my life into your hands and offer full control. Your love will make me whole. Star child, the source of peace and light. Star child, take me on your flight. You shine your light upon me. I feel it fill my heart. I feel my spirit quicken. I feel the fear depart. I feel my new life start. Star child. Star child, shining from above. Star child, fill me with your love. Let my life reflect your light. Let your spirit shine. Let my spirit meet with yours, and let them intertwine. It's all in your design, star child.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Creative Connections, and we'll be back with another guest next week. Thank you. Bye.